Gaussian this side. So today hand we are dealing with the chapter called as biomolecules. Okay, so let's get started. But beforehand starting, I'll be giving you a quick glimpse of which topics we'll be dealing in the biomolecules. So basically, I call them as LPC, which means lipid, protein, and the carbohydrate. And in addition with this, we'll be dealing with the nucleic acids as well. Okay, so let's get started. So starting with the first thing first, the first topic of the chapter is called as carbohydrates. Okay, starting. Now, the examples for the carbohydrates are sugar, glycogen, starch, and the cellulose. Basically, the carbohydrates are the hydrates of the carbon, which are the quick source of energy. And here we are dealing with the glycogen, which is called as animal starch, plant starch, and the cellulose. Do remember the case that the glycogen, plant starch, and the animal starch, all of them are made up of glucose only. But still, what's the difference between them? So the glycogen is just like the branched chain of glucose molecule like this. Okay? And here as well I'll be having a glucose molecule. Whereas the starch is the linear chain of glucose molecule. Okay? Now, what about the cellulose? So basically cellulose is having alpha 1,6 configuration, whereas the starch and the glycogen are having alpha 1,4 and the glycogen has 1,4 and 1,6 both. Okay? Glycogen is the stored food material in the animals, whereas the starch is the stored food material in the plants, and the cellulose is the cell wall component of the plants. The most abundant organic molecule on the planet Earth is none other than cellulose. Deal with. Now, the source of the carbohydrate basically mainly photosynthesis. It exists only 1% but constitutes the 80% of the dry weight of the plant. So, 80% of the dry weight of the plant is made up of carbohydrates. And what is the composition? So, it consists of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio CnH2nOn. Okay, where N will be anything. Let's say for example, N is 6. So here our formula will be C6H12O6, that is none other than glucose. Now, we are dealing with the chart of carbohydrates here. Okay? So here, carbohydrates are basically divided into three portions, that is called as monosaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Okay? Deal with. So the monosaccharides are the sugar molecule which cannot be hydrolyzed further. Okay? So here we have some examples of the monosaccharides, that is triose, which are having 3 carbon, tetrose 4 carbon, pentose 5 carbons, hexose 6, heptose 7, octose 8, nanose 9, and the decoses will be 10. Here hexoses like the glucose and the fructose will be coming under this category. Now, the second portion of the monosaccharide is the derivatives of monosaccharide. Okay, it is the derivatives of monosaccharide, and we will be dealing that the derivative of monosaccharide will be here. Okay, here it is uric acid. Okay, example is the glycouronic acid and galactouronic acid. The second one is called as aeroic acid, in which we are having glucaroic acid and galactaroic acid. We are having aminosaccharides as well, like the glucosamine and the galactosamine. We do know about the cell wall component of the peptidoglycan, that is the N-acetyl glucosamine. We have phosphosaccharides as well, like glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, etc. etc. We have glycosides as well, like the nucleotides, nucleosides, and the coenzymes. These are the derivatives of the monosaccharides. Now again, dealing the second one, that is called as oligosaccharides, where the number is ranging from 2 to 10. On hydrolysis, they will be giving you 2 to 10 monosaccharides. Okay? And if they are giving only 2 monosaccharides after hydrolysis, they will be called as a disaccharide, and in the same fashion tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, deca. And if there is a sugar molecule which is on hydrolysis giving you more than 10 monosaccharides, that sugar molecule is said to be a polysaccharide. Okay? We have two further divisions of the polysaccharides, homopolysaccharide and the heteropolysaccharide. In case of the homopolysaccharide, we are having exact same carbohydrate molecules arranged in a linear chain. Let's say for example only the glucose chain we have. So that is the homopolysaccharide, and the example is the starch, amylopectin, glycogen and the cellulose. But if along with the glucose some fructose molecule is also there, fructose is there, and we have stachyose as well, we have verbascose as well, we have fructose as well. So that will be called as heteropolysaccharide, and here example will be glycoproteins. There are some another molecules as well, like the chitin, heparin is also a heteropolysaccharide, and we can deal with further examples as well. Okay, now dealing with the properties of the monosaccharide. So here the monosaccharides are colorless, but they are sweet tasting. Okay, monosaccharide are colorless, but they are sweet tasting. They are solids, and due to the asymmetric carbon, they exist in different isomeric form. They can rotate the plane polarized right. Hence, they are a dextrorotatory and levorotatory substance. When a molecule turns the plane polarized light towards the right hand side, that will be said to be called as dextrorotatory substance. And when the molecule is turning the light towards the left hand side, that will be called as levorotatory substance. Okay, deal with. We have D-glucose after reduction gives rise to a mixture of polyhydroxy alcohol, sorbitol or mannitol. Okay, deal with. The sugar with a free aldehyde of the ketone group reduces Cu++ to Cu+ only. That is also called as cupric to cuprous. Do remember the case. Now, the sugars show oxidation, esterification and fermentation. Yes, they do show. They like the addition of the oxygen or the removal of the hydrogen will be called as oxidation. Esterification is the bond formation in between them, that is the glycosidic bond. And the fermentation is the conversion of any sugar molecule into alcohol anaerobically. The aldehyde of the ketone group of the simple sugar can join as alcoholic group of another as well. That is the formation of the bond COC, which involves the loss of water, and whenever the loss of water is taking place and the formation of a new molecule is occurring, you will be calling the reaction as condensation. Okay, deal with. Now, dealing with the next topic called as lipids. Here, the term lipids was properly coined by Blur, but they are the esters of fatty acid with an alcohol. Mainly this alcohol is the glycerol, but still we have different types of lipids. They are hydrophobic, they are insoluble in water, but they are soluble in benzene, ether and the chloroform. Lipids are classified into three groups, that is called a simple lipid, compound lipid and derived lipid. So starting with the first thing first. The first one is called as a simple lipid. Again, these are the esters of fatty acid and glycerol only, as I have told you earlier that the esters of fatty acid and glycerol are called as simple lipids. They are again of two types or three types: the fats and oils, fatty acids and the waxes. So the first one is called as the fats and the oils, which are natural lipids or the true fats. What happens here? These are the triglycerides of fatty acid with glycerol, which are liquid at room temperature, which are called as oil, and the fats which are solid at room temperature will be called as fat. Okay. Now, oils with polyunsaturated fatty acids are called as polyunsaturated oils. That is or rather they will be called as plant fat. That is a sunflower oil, lower blood cholesterol. That is also called as LDL, low density lipids. Do remember the case. Okay. The fatty acid obtained by the hydrolysis of fat. The formic acid is the simplest fatty acid. These are basically the fatty acids are of two types: saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acid. Okay. If all the valencies have been filled in the structure of the fatty acid, that will be called as saturated fatty acid, which do not have double bond in their structure. They have only single bonds in their structure. Example is here butyric acid, palmic acid, hexanoic acid, etc. etc. They have high melting point. They have high melting point. They are solid at room temperature and they increase the blood cholesterol. Okay. They have high melting point. They are solid at room temperature and they increase the blood cholesterol. The second one is called as unsaturated fatty acid. Here we have double bonds in the carbon atoms. Yes, we do have double or the triple as well. Okay. Now, example is hexadecanoic acid, octadecanoic acid. They have lower melting point, mostly found in the plant fat, and they are liquid at room temperature. Do remember the case that the animal fat are always solid and the plant fat are always liquid. Okay, and that's why we can call them as oil as well. Okay, and they lower the blood cholesterol. Here we have waxes. They are the simple lipid which are composed of one molecule of long chain of fatty acid and long chain monohydric alcohol, any other alcohol other than glycerol. Waxes have high melting point. They are insoluble in water. They are resistant to atmospheric oxidation and they are inert. which means they do not react normally. They are not digested by any enzyme. They reduce the rate of transpiration by making the plant tissue waterproof, and they work as excellent lubricant. Okay? Deal with. Now dealing with the compound lipid, they contain some additional elements. Here, they are the group with the fatty acid and the alcohol. On the basis of the group, they may be of the different type. Let's say for example, the first one is called as the phospholipid. Okay? They contain the phosphoric acid along with them, lipid plus phosphorus. Okay? It helps in the transportation, metabolism, blood clotting and permeability of the cell membrane. Yes, our cell membrane is basically made up of phospholipid bilayer. It is a bipolar molecule, which means the phosphate containing end is hydrophilic, whereas the fatty acid molecule will be hydrophobic, that is the non-polar. The second type of the compound lipid is called as a glycolipid. They contain the nitrogen and the carbohydrate beside the fatty acids. They are generally found in the white matter of the nervous system. Okay? Example is here sesosine, phrenosine. The third type of the compound lipid is chromolipid. Okay? It includes the pigmented lipids, which is example of the carotene, the orange colored pigment. Okay? Deal with. And the fourth type here and the will be called as aminolipids. Okay? And in case of the aminolipids, we also know them as sulfolipids. They contain the sulfur and the amino acid with the fatty acid and glycerol. The cutin and the suberin, which are present in the plant, the cutin and the suberin are also compound lipid which are resistant to water, and they are also providing us the mechanical support in the plant. Okay, they are waterproof actually because they are lipid in nature, but still they are also providing the mechanical support to the plants. Now, derived lipids. So they are obtained by the hydrolysis of the simple and the compound lipid. Do remember the case that the example of the derived lipid is the steroid and the androgens, the male sexual hormones, testosterone, and the female sexual hormone, progesterone, and the estrogens are derived lipids. Okay? Now the function. So here the function of the derived lipid, the total lipids will be the oxidation of lipid comparatively yields more energy than the protein and the carbohydrate. So 1 gram of lipid accounts for 39.1 kilojoule of heat or energy. Okay? Deal with. The oil seeds such as the groundnut, mustard, coconut stores fat to provide the nourishment to the embryo. And they function as a structural constituent as well. They are present in the cell membrane, which is made up of lipoprotein. Okay? Okay. Now, amphipathic lipids are emulsifiers as well. Emulsification. It works like the coating of the lipid on the molecules. It works as a heat insulator as well. Yes. So ultimately, like in the colder regions, the animals develop their lipid covering or the fat covering on their body, and ultimately it will be working as an insulator for them to resist the cold atmosphere. They are used in the synthesis of the hormones as well, especially the steroid hormones. The fats provide solubility to vitamin A, D and K. Yes, vitamin A, D, E, K are lipid soluble, whereas the vitamin B complex and the vitamin C are water soluble. Now dealing the proteins, that is like the basic thing will be amino acids. So there are basically 20 amino acids. There are 20 in number specified in the genetic code and universal in viruses as well, prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. And they are the normal component of the cell protein, or rather I'll be calling that the amino acids are the building block of proteins. So dealing with the 20 amino acids name, so here I am writing just them like the glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, isoleucine, proline, tryptophan, methionine, cysteine, phenylalanine, serine, threonine, tyrosine, asparagine, glutamine, lysine, arginine, histidine, aspartate, glutamate. There are two newly discovered amino acids as well. They are called as selenocysteine and the pyrrolysine. The first row, glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, isoleucine, proline, tryptophan, methionine, cysteine and phenylalanine are hydrophobic amino acid, whereas the second row, serine, threonine, tyrosine, asparagine, glutamine are hydrophilic amino acid. This third row, it is called as lysine, arginine and the histidine are basic amino acid, whereas the last row, aspartate and the glutamate are acidic amino acids. Okay? Deal with. Now, Structure and the composition. So basically the amino acids are the basic unit of the proteins and they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen and sometimes sulfur as well. There are some special amino acids like the cysteine and the methionine which are containing sulfur in them. Amino acids are the organic acid with the carboxyl group as well and the amino group as well. COOH is the carboxyl group whereas NH2 is the amino group. Okay, on the alpha carbon atom. So carboxyl group attributes the acidic property whereas the amino group has the basic properties. And in a solution they will be acting as a buffer as well to maintain the pH. Their general formula is R CHNH2 COOH. Okay, deal with. And they form peptide bonds. Remember the case. And the nature of the peptide bond will be CONH. Okay, the nature of the peptide bond will be CONH. Now, the classification based on their alkyl group of the amino acid. So the first one is a simple amino acid. So they have no functional group on the side chain, that is like the only hydrogen will be there. So here we have the glycine, alanine and leucine and the valine. Whereas the second one is saying about the hydroxy amino acid, they have alcoholic group in the side chain, that is the threonine and the serine. Okay, deal with. The third one is the sulfur containing amino acid like the cysteine and the methionine. We have already discussed about this. Basic amino acid are the one like the lysine, arginine and the histidine which have an extra NH2 group in the side chain. Whereas the acidic amino acid will be having extra carboxyl group in the side chain, aspartic acid and the glutamic acid. We can call them as aspartate and the glutamate as well. Okay, deal with. Now, the acidic amino acid here, these are the derivatives of the acidic amino acid. In this group, their carboxyl group has been converted into amide, that is called as CONH2. Example is asparagine and the glutamine. That is the basic form of aspartate and the basic form of glutamate respectively. There are heterocyclic amino acids as well. These are the amino acids in which the side chain includes a ring which involves at least one atom other than the carbon. That is called as the tryptophan and the histidine. The bulkiest amino acid of all time is the tryptophan. And the last one here is called as the aromatic amino acid. They have aromatic group that is called as a benzene ring. They do have benzene ring in their structure and that is none other than phenylalanine and the tyrosine. Do remember the case that the tyrosine is the precursor of majority of the hormones. Okay. Now, dealing with the nucleotides. So here structurally a nucleotide can be regarded as a phosphoester of a nucleoside, which means like the basic structures of a nucleotide are nitrogenous base, a pentose sugar and phosphoric acid. Correct? And if you have only nitrogenous base and the pentose sugar, you will be calling it as a nucleoside. So I can literally say that the nucleoside plus phosphoric acid will be nucleotide. They are the combination of the nitrogenous bases and the sugar, that is called as nucleoside, and the combination of a base, a sugar and a phosphate will be called as nucleotide. We have 5 different types of the nitrogenous bases. They are called as adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine and uracil, in which the DNA has A, G, C, T, whereas the RNA has A, G, C, U. Okay, deal with. And the nucleoside and the nucleotide configurations are in front of you. Like the nucleoside of the adenine will be adenosine, whereas the nucleotide will be adenylic acid, and so on. Now, the function of the nucleotide is here. So, nucleotide's function will be the formation of nucleic acid, like the formation of DNA or RNA. Okay, and the formation of energy carrier as well. Let's say, for example, they help in the formation of adenosine triphosphate, adenosine monophosphate, diphosphate, guanosine diphosphate, guanosine triphosphate, thymidine diphosphate, thymidine triphosphate, uridine diphosphate, etc., etc., which are releasing energy whenever they are broken. Okay, and the formation of coenzyme as well, like the NAD, NADP, FMN, FAD, COX, anything. Okay, these are the ones which are called as coenzymes, and they are formed. Coenzymes are non-proteinaceous substances which are necessary for the activity of the enzymes. Now, dealing with the protein portion. So here the word protein was basically coined by Berzelius in 1838 and it was again used by Mulder in 1840. Okay, 15% of the protoplasm is made up of protein, whereas average protein content is 16% nitrogen, 50 to 55% carbon, oxygen is 20 to 24%. Okay, 7% hydrogen and 0.3 to 0.5% sulfur. Then iron, phosphorus, copper, calcium and iodine are also present in quite small quantity. So the structure of the protein is basically due to different rearrangement of the amino acid. We have 20 different amino acids, right? We have 20 different amino acids, and we can literally go for the calculations that a lot of different factorial calculations, like how many different proteins can be made from the different combination of these 20 amino acids. Do remember one case that whenever the 50 amino acids are coming into a chain, then only you will be calling it as a protein. If the number is less than 50, you can call them as polypeptide. And if the amino acids are even less than 10 in a chain, if there are less than 10 amino acids, you can call them as peptide only. Okay? Deal with. A peptide may be dipeptide, tripeptide, polypeptide, anything. The simplest protein is insulin. Do remember the case that the simplest protein is insulin because it has only 51 amino acid. I can call it as the smallest protein as well, because the criteria to be called as a protein will be 50 amino acid at least. Okay, we have 4 levels of configuration in the proteins: the primary, secondary, tertiary, and the quaternary. So the first thing is the primary structure of the protein. So the primary structure is a covalent connection of a protein. It refers to the linear sequence, the number and the nature of the amino acid which are bonded together with the peptide bond, that is the ribonuclease, insulin, or the hemoglobin. So somehow like I can draw amino acid, and etc. etc. So somehow this will be the primary structure of protein, and these bonds are called as peptide bond. The most important bonds in the protein's structure are peptide bond. They are covalent bond. Now dealing with the secondary structure, so here what happens, the folding of nearly linear polypeptide chain into specific coiled structure, which is called a secondary structure. And if it is intermolecular hydrogen bond structure, will be known as beta pleated sheet. Alpha helical are found in the protein of fur, keratin of hairs and claws and feathers, whereas the beta pleated is found in the silk fiber and the wool. The structure will be something like that. This will be the structure of the alpha helical, whereas this will be structure of beta pleated. Okay, deal with. So what happens in the alpha here, like the first and the fourth amino acid are forming a hydrogen bond between them. Here as well one will be there, here will be two. The first and the fourth are forming hydrogen bond between them. So they will be showing you the slightly coiled structure. So this helical structure will be called as alpha helical, whereas this pleated structure will be called as beta pleated. Do remember the examples of the alpha and the beta. Here protein of fur, keratin of hair, claws, feathers, which is present in the alpha helical, whereas the beta pleated is present in the silk fiber and wool. Okay, silk fiber and wool. Now dealing with the tertiary structure and the quaternary structure. So in case of the tertiary structure of the protein, the arrangement and the interconnection of the protein into a specific loop and the bends is called as tertiary structure of protein, or rather I'll be calling it as any possible bond, be it hydrogen bond, ionic bond, hydrophobic bond, disulfide bond, van der Waals interactions, weak London dispersive forces, any type of bond which is minimizing the size of the protein will be called as tertiary structure of the protein. This is what I have drawn. Any possible bond to reduce the size of the protein. Okay, this is the tertiary structure of the protein. Example here is myoglobin. Okay, that is a globular protein. And dealing with the quaternary structure, which is shown by the protein containing more than one peptide chain. The protein consists of identical units, something like that, this one and again this one, and they are connected. Okay, they are connected. They are connected through some special bonds. So here, like, let's say for example, homologous quaternary structure example is lactate dehydrogenase, LDH. Okay, and that will be heterogeneous as well, like the hemoglobin, which contains 2 alpha and 2 beta chains, something like in this fashion, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is alpha dash, this is beta dash. Okay, deal with. Now dealing with the next topic called as nucleic acid. Here they are the polymer of the nucleotide made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and the phosphorus, which contain the basic functions of the cell. Okay, they are first reported by the Friedrich Miescher, and Altman called them as the nucleic acid first. So there are two types of the nucleic acid, that is the DNA and the RNA. The types of the DNA will be here. They are maybe linear or circular in the eukaryotes and prokaryotes respectively. Linear in the eukaryotes, circular in the prokaryotes. Okay, here we have palindromic DNA, which like you will be referring from one in this fashion and in this fashion they will be same, TTAACGTTA, and again if you are reading from this fashion you will be getting the in the next stand same configuration. The second one is called as a repetitive DNA, in which we are having the type of arrangement is found near the centromere of the chromosome, and it is inert in RNA synthesis. So the sequence of the nitrogenous base is repeated several times. And here like the third one will be called as satellite DNA, which do not have any proper function in the coding or like the protein formation, but still they are 11 to 60 base pair long and they are repetitive in nature. They are used in the DNA fingerprinting, and they are also called as, they contain the sequences called as VNTR, that is none other than variable number tandem repeats, which were first observed by the Alex Jeffrey. Okay, deal with. The second one is the RNA, in which is the second type of the nucleic acid, which is found in the nucleus as well as in the cytoplasm as well. In the mitochondria, plastid, ribosome have their own special RNA because they have their own genome. Okay, deal with. Now, enzymes. So enzymes is basically a proteinaceous substance which are capable of catalyzing the chemical reaction of biological origin without themselves undergoing any change. So enzymes are the biological catalysts which speed up the reaction without altering the product of the reaction. Okay, deal with. And study of the enzyme will be called as enzymology. Okay, we have different types of enzymes here. I've literally gone through a word. I can share that word to you. That is called as OTHLIL. This is a classification of enzyme. Okay, OTHLIL. Oxidoreductase, transferase, hydrolase, lyase, isomerase, ligase. Okay, deal with. So what happens with the oxidoreductase? So they are responsible for the transfer of the hydrogen and the oxygen atom of the electrons from one substrate to the another. And the example is dehydrogenases and the oxidases. Either the oxidation or reduction is their function. Transferase, they are literally transferring the specific group, that is, let's say for example a phosphate group or a methyl group from one substrate to the another. And the example here will be called as transaminase or the kinases. In case of the hydrolases, they are responsible for the hydrolysis of a substance, and example will be esterase or the digestive enzymes. The fourth one is called as isomerase, which are responsible for the changing the molecular formula of the substrate, which means they will be converting the molecular formula, having the same molecular formula but different structural configuration. Let's say for example glucose to fructose. Glucose to fructose. Example will be the phosphohexoisomerase or the fumarase. The fifth type is called as lyase here. So what is the function? They are non-hydrolytic removal of a group or addition of any group into substrate. The example will be here decarboxylases or aldolases. The sixth and the last one is called as ligase, which is responsible for joining two molecules by the formation of new bonds. Two molecules by the formation of new bonds. Example is citric acid synthetase. Okay, done. So now we are done with the chapter, one single lecture. We are done with the biomolecules chapter, and further we will be dealing with the next chapters as well. Hopefully this lecture has been beneficial for you guys. Thank you very much for your so much support. I want to ask you one thing, that if you do have any kind of questions, please ask me there in the comment sections as well. Okay, thank you.